podcast. It's Fair, your host, and as always, thank you for being here. Thanks for being a part of this community. Thanks for tuning in. And following the new model of our podcast, it can be collective, is that we'll be honoring a meditation, setting an intention, going into the particular topic at hand, and some data-driven information that I feel like will be valuable for you. And then we wrap up with some journaling exercises and questions for you to be able to reflect and see how it can apply into your personal life. Just like every time I teach my classes too. Sorry, I just got my hair done and my these little baby bangs just driving me crazy. I did get some edge like formula. It's Millie, and so it's been helping me keep things a little bit more tidy, if you will. But sorry, anyways, I can see myself in the camera and I can help but fix it. Anyhow, so the journaling exercises are important because just like when I teach classes, I want people to be able to take what we're talking about, take the theme, take the information and actually apply it, actually utilize it within your daily life, be able to hopefully improve how you operate, either in means of how you interact with yourself or speak to yourself, or the physical exercises or whatever, what have you, whatever that means, depending on the topic. But then also, like, how can we carry it through? How can we then inspire? How can we then change and kind of make the world a more harmonious place because of it? And that's truly always what I'm striving for. So today's topic, guys, today's topic is about conflict resolution, because as I've entered Venus retrograde and have been very in the retrograde, to say the least, the reflections and revelations that have come to me these last couple of weeks have been a tad heavy. And I will do my little mini life update. I'm mostly, let's be real, I haven't been dating for the last month since Venus retrograde came into effect. I was like, I need to understand some patterning here and I really need to apply them. And just to have a deeper reflection of like myself, instead of just being distracted with new suitors or guys that are that want to flirt with me. And it's just like, is this really what I want? Where am I at? Why am I doing this? Am I distracting myself? Am I doing this because I actually see a future with them, or is it just fun for the moment? And that's a real question that I had to ask myself. And so I decided to reset, just recalibrate, pull it back a little bit, be able to, again, zero in on my goals, on myself, on my improvement, on what I am creating and attracting within my own life, so that I could be really deliberate and intentional about what I was putting out there and the energy in which I was exchanging with anybody that is coming up. And that's a really big thing for me. I'm a very energetics person. I feel like I do really create, I do attract what the frequency in which I'm operating at. And if I'm not operating at the frequency that I feel like is ideal, then I'm obviously not going to attract someone that's also operating at that level. So, in dating in general, like, everyone has their own opinions about this, but I really believe that if you're happy and if you are in love with yourself, you're going to attract someone that's also in love with you in all of the facets of who you are. And until you're really at that point, it's kind of like you're going to, I feel like relationships are a mirror. And so if you're attracting certain people for a certain reason, it's probably something that you need to look within yourself to see and understand. And, I've experienced that quite a bit. And I started to recognize and see a pattern. And as my psychology mind can't help but do, I had to then reflect what that pattern meant, and also took the time to be able to integrate those lessons too. And especially with someone that I was kind of seeing for a while, honestly, we got into a habit, we got into like a cycle, and I just got used to it. And I hate fighting, so then I just would be like, well, it's fine, don't worry about it, let's just move on. And but not really ever addressing the issue, and then the same issue would come up, and then we would have the same fight, and then we would have the same result. And it was like, well, this is just really keeps happening. And it wasn't a fight, it was a disagreement, because we didn't see eye to eye on something. And so I know I'm stubborn, I know I think I'm right often. It's the Taurus moon. But at the same time, I do think that there's an opportunity for growth. And I did take some time to think about it and really reflect and honestly distance myself from the situation in order for me to understand why it kept happening and what the root cause of it was. And to be honest, the root cause was me. It was me. There was, let's be honest, it was both parties. But there was a large portion of my jumping to conclusions, making assumptions, and also toxic behavior that I just have perpetually emulated within my life for a really long time. And so I had to see that. I had to be real about that. And then I had to figure out how I was going to change that. So I would say the Venus retrograde has been very successful and very intentional and very helpful. But that doesn't mean that it hasn't come with some a few speed bumps along the way. And that's actually what prompted today's podcast. As always, I always create pods around things that I'm personally working through because I feel like they're relevant, they're pertinent to what's going on within the global consciousness, tapping into that essence and then also applying it. So here we are, conflict resolution. And in all honesty, there's so much conflict and opposition that's occurring within this world right now. Wars, genocide, people being killed left and right. And I actually, I had a few friends that witnessed a murder, and they didn't see the details of which was who, but definitely saw someone bleed out and die in front of them. And no matter what the situation is, that's really heavy. And I got to hold space for them, which I'm grateful that I was able to do. But afterwards I was reflecting on it, and thankfully I've never been in that situation. I've never had to witness that firsthand. And thank God, truly. I am such a compassionate person. I'm such an empathetic person. I really think it would scar me, and I think it scars everyone. And I think some people get used to it, especially people that have grown up around a lot of gang violence, gun violence. Like, it becomes, or they're in a place where war is just the common thread. I have a friend that grew up in war times, and in another country, and she was like, it was just different. I operated differently when I was there. And it's because she hardened herself in order to survive. And we all have survival mechanisms that we establish in order to keep going because we have to continue on, right? And someone who's been in really tumultuous relationships also see that I protected myself by numbing and putting up a layer of shield so that I wouldn't have to deal with it, so I can continue on, so I can continue to take care of daily life. And I think we all do that to a certain extent, and sometimes we're even unconscious that we're doing it. And but we can really shut down. At least I know for myself, I emotionally shut down. But when I shut myself down, I also numb the possibility of joy, of connection, of love, because I don't want to feel the pain and the hurt. And I think that a lot of people experience that, and it's a survival mechanism. It becomes something they're used to, they're accustomed to. But doesn't have to be the end all be all. So when I was talking to my friend about the situation, what occurred, I had this moment where I was like, I also was like doing a million things, and I was on my way to go teach yoga, and I also then had to like work for the rest of the day, and I was trying to put together my meals for life. And so I was doing all those things, and I was like, you know what? I could just like literally shove this away. I can put this to the side and be like, I don't want to think about this. I have to do other things, and I just can't handle it. I just don't want to deal. I'm not going to deal with it. And repress. Um, but is that really the healthiest thing to do? Is it not going to come up later? Is it not going to be an issue going forward? Is it not going to leave a mark that we're obviously and intentionally and will eventually have to address? And so instead of me doing that, I really opened up. I was like, you know what? I feel this pain inside of me, and I have two choices. I can push it away, I can ignore it, or I can lean into it and allow it to increase my capacity to feel and to really support someone and empathize on such a different level. And I decided to lean in to the idea of supporting and holding space and feeling into that pain that was being expressed to me. And that's also what prompted this podcast, because I was like, this is too much. Why does this keep happening? Why is this going on everywhere in the world? And no one wants to see the root cause of it. And it's conflict. It's conflict. Wars are occurring because someone disagreed. If that's about religion, if that's about a philosophy, if that's about, a financial transaction. There's lots of different reasons and the culprits for all of what the conflicts stem from, but at the end of the day, it still returns to conflict. And so, how do we practice conflict resolution, solving the conflict in a peaceful manner? And I'm very fortunate that I have years of experience doing this and teaching people how to do this within the counseling setting. And so I thought, you know what? I've practiced this so much within my personal life. It's not to say that I am perfect by any means, and anyone that has triggered me may has witnessed the other side of that for me, because when I feel disrespected, I do tend to retaliate. And it's something that I'm really working on. That's honestly another part of the Venus retrograde thing that I'm like focused on right now. But with all of that, it's like, how do we increase vulnerability? How we increase the ability to be seen, to be able to see in our pain and our joy and everything in between the spectrum of emotions. And also when we're frustrated, when we feel slighted, when we feel like someone's crossed us in a way that feels disrespectful and hurtful. And how do we express that and communicate that to the other person so that they can understand, so that we can actually honestly let that shit go and not carry it with us anymore in a way that's hopefully conducive to you being more connected and true and authentic to who you are. So, all this comes to say, we're talking about conflict resolution. There's a bunch of reasons why, and I'm feeling really passionate about it, and that's why we're diving into it. So, let's go ahead and begin. But the meditation is first. So, meditation I want to go into is the metta meditation. And the reason why I wanted to use the metta meditation, which I've incorporated into, honestly, it's a whole podcast I have on it if you want to do more of a detailed journey through it. But also, the metta meditation is scientifically proven to help activate the areas of our brain that are associated with compassion. And I honestly suggest this meditation to people when they're feeling disgruntled with someone. And I utilize this meditation when I'm feeling disgruntled with someone, because you're literally sending them healing and calming and loving vibes, and also to yourself. And that's that collective consciousness of harmony, of like love, that we want to be able to cultivate, not from a place of phoniness or spiritual bypassing of ignoring, but really from that deeper subconscious level too. So let's go ahead and begin. Find a comfortable seat wherever you are. Kind of relax into the space that you are within at this moment. If that's going for a walk, if you're driving, or if you are, sitting at home or doing something else. Either way, feel your feet and your toes kind of wiggle. Yeah, drop into your body. Start to notice that gentle rise and fall of your chest and your breath as it moves through you. And maybe even hear the subtle sound of your breath as it moves in and out. Tapping into your five senses, allowing yourself to gain more presence, looking around you, not from a place of judgment, unless your eyes are closed, but really just from a place of curiosity and observation. The textures, the colors, the objects that are in your environment. Noticing little minuscule details about each one. Maybe even noting 2 to 3 things about 4 items that are around you. While still being locked into the breath and whatever connection point is to the earth. Notice any scents or smells around you. Even sounds that surround you. Wonderful. Take a few moments here just to soak that up. And then begin to envision yourself looking at yourself into the mirror. Bring that into your mind's eye, stare into your eyes, and repeat after me, out loud or in your head. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be kind. May you be loved. May you be free. And may you see the divine light inside of you. Let that seal that in. Let the breath move. Let it wash over you. Now start to envision someone in your life, maybe that you've had a conflict with recently, maybe a disagreement. And then repeat after me. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be kind. May you be loved. May you be free. May you see the divine light within you. Send it as like a little love note, tossing it into the air, into the mail, carrier pigeon. And then think of a broader group or community or even the whole world, to be honest. And then repeat after me. May we all be happy. May we all be healthy. May we all be kind. May we all be loved. May we all be free. May we all see the divine light within us. Send that vibration out into the world around you. Let it radiate. Loka samasa sukhi no bhavantu. The Sanskrit version of the metta meditation. Loka samasa sukhi no bhavantu. All right. Thank you for joining me for that. And that is a meditation that you can do at any point in time, honestly, every day. There are sects of Buddhism that practice that on a regular basis. So it's definitely something that would be a great invitation for you and practice that you can do each morning. And then that can to continue to cultivate compassion within your life in every way. And let's dive into the I can't sing, obviously. Let's dive into the topic as well. Conflict resolution. They are soft skills, but very human skills that are necessary. We experience conflict in the workplace, in our personal lives, in our professional lives, in our romantic lives, all of the above. Anytime there's an interaction where both parties don't agree or come to the same conclusion, there's a potential for conflict. But that's also why it's so important for us to be able to talk about this. That's why it's so important for us to be able to address it, because it's happening all the time. Like, we literally always are having these things come up. So why are we not giving people tools on how to approach them? So here you go. Here you go, sweetheart. I got you. So first and foremost, take a step back. If you're coming up into a disagreement with someone, it's all good. It happens. And also, it could be a fucking stranger on the street that is popping off because they're having a bad day. That might not have anything to do with you. So first things first, recognize how you need to be engaged and how much you need to be involved. Do we let that shit go? Do we say peace and love, bro? I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to be involved in that. I'm going to let it go. I'm not carrying that with me today. I don't need to, and I don't want to. Pick your battles. First and foremost, one of the most important lessons I've ever learned in conflict resolution, pick my battles. Because sometimes I don't want to. Sometimes I want to tell someone to back the fuck up. Or watch your goddamn mouth. Sorry, those are the things that come out when I'm feeling aggressive. But for real, those things want to come up for me. Are they most beneficial? Are they the most needed conversations? Especially if it's some fucking stranger that I'm never going to see again? Probably not. Ignoring the situation, letting it be, picking your battle, and just recognizing that a lot of what people do is not necessarily because of you. So there might be someone doing some shady ass shit that honestly is just them. It's what they're up to, and it's not your problem. And also, it's not necessarily something you need to fix about that person. You don't need to change their behavior. That's up to them. And you ultimately have to relinquish control to feeling like you need to improve someone if they don't necessarily want to improve themselves. And it's not your responsibility. And honestly, more often than not, it's not even something that is possible because someone's going to ultimately need to make the change for themselves. You can't make that decision for them. So, starting off with that, and also recognizing that a lot of times people do have stuff more going on than necessarily you recognize or know. So just empathizing, being able to recognize that it's not always because of you, and that there should be some autonomy within someone's actions and necessarily how they're interacting with you, which, with our agreements, don't take things personally. This one's extremely hard. It's like hard to not think, especially when it's directed towards you. It feels very personal. It feels like a personal attack. And sometimes it is. And even if it's intended to do so or be so, that doesn't necessarily mean that's warranted or it's something that you have to engage with after that point. I used to always say someone's story of who you are in their mind is not your responsibility to fix, and you can't control it. So you can be having the same conversation with someone and be open and thinking that, like, oh, you guys are totally on the same page, and maybe you're not. And that's also not something you can necessarily control either. But if you want to pursue having a deeper conversation with someone, or you feel that it's worthy of your energy and time, truly, then these are some approaches that you can take to be able to hopefully be able to communicate your feelings and thoughts clearly, concisely, and with a sense of intention and resolution in the forefront. So that's why we say, if you are we working, do we just want to say what we want to say and like have someone listen to us, or do we actually want to hear them out to know that there's two sides to resolve the conflict? Right? Because there's two different approaches to that. Do you just want to say everything that you're thinking and feeling and then have them shake their head and or nod their head and agree with you? Because that might not happen. So just know your intention going into it and what your expectations are around that. And to be able to just pull back a little bit and to really set realistic expectations for what you want to achieve within the conversation with that person. First and foremost, finding a good time to be able to set this up with them where you have uninterrupted space to be able to talk through it, to be able to speak on it, to be able to really dive into it in an honest format so that both parties can have, and you won't feel rushed, but both parties also feel safe and secure to be able to open up and to discuss whatever topic it is on hand, neutral ground, somewhere that's private, and being able to lead into that conversation with like, hey, I got some stuff that's coming up I've been thinking about. I'd really love to talk to you about it. Do you have some free time over the next couple of weeks? Don't be like, I want to talk about this and you need to talk to me about it tonight. All right, bitch. I've done that. I've done it. I've done it. So don't think I haven't. I've done it because there's that control seeks in, but that control seeking comes in often for me. I know this is a weak spot for me, but it's not always perceived. And also, there's a high likelihood that the other person feels some sort of way about what's going on. So, opening up the floor for it to be a collaborative conversation, right? Both parties are going to be heard. Both parties are going to be seen. Both parties are going to be able to voice whatever their feelings are about the situation. So that's first and foremost, creating a safe space for both of you guys to be able to open up about it. And then once you do actually start, and I personally am on a belief that you should write down your thoughts and feelings ahead of time. I've done this enough to where I'm usually pretty clear on what my intention is and what I want to cover. But writing down even just your shitty first draft, Brené Brown talks about that, being able to write out what your thoughts are about it and also recognize the stories that we're making up within that to really kind of like declutter your own personal biases around certain things so that when you enter into the conversation, it's hopefully it's not as convoluted as it would be otherwise with emotional reactions, biases, all of the above, right? So that's just one thing to keep in mind. And, according to Harvard Business Review, when we're handling conflict, it's like recognizing the well being of both parties involved. And also just being able to recognize the right to be treated with respect and to be able to hold those boundaries true. And to also be able to do like best practices, like you have an aspirational standard of what you want to achieve within this conflict, but that doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. But also, again, how do you want to enter it and how do you want to hold space for that person? And ultimately, how do you want them to hold space for you too? Because we ultimately do treat others as we want to be treated. So being able to carry that through both sides. And really, ultimately, for the fairness and equality of the treatment for everyone that's involved in the conflict or the conversation. And once you're starting to have those conversations, so once you've written down kind of what your thoughts are, what your feelings are, then we can go into the actual administration of the conversation. I know I'm saying this kind of like clinically, but I really want to keep it honest and like concise and real of like how this gets pulled into a lot of different directions, but there is a science to it. There is a formula that you can approach in order to have these types of really healthy conversations about difficult things where emotions run high. It's really hard to stay focused. It's really hard to not jump to conclusions. And I've done all of those things. And I recognize that they're usually the worst possible scenarios and they end up taking us completely off the rails and doesn't actually get anything accomplished. And then I'm more frustrated and upset than I was before. So I'm saying these things in this kind of more formulated way because I want you to recognize that it can be approached that way and hopefully be able to decrease the level of reactivity that gets explored and really exacerbated within these high intensity situations. So once you're actually speaking to them, you have your thoughts you want to write down. When you're be specific about the things that you're bringing up, and also try to focus on your actions, on what you feel about the situation, your feelings. Don't make assumptions about how that person, why someone did something, or why they showed up, or why they said what they said, or did what they did, because you don't know. And this is also supposed to be an open forum for them to be able to express why they did what they did, and for you to hear them clearly and to not insert your opinion into it because your opinion might be wrong. Okay. That's what I do. I'm like, no, you did this for this reason. And they're like, no, I didn't. I'm like, yeah, you did. Who am I? Who am I? I don't know. Why am I saying that? I don't know why I even do it. Trust me. I'm intuitive, so I'm like, no, you're deeper subconscious. But that's not always the case. So this is again, I'm sharing this with you because this is something I'm working on. Okay. But be specific about the things in hand. Focus on your feelings and emotions, your actions, what you did within your part to play within the conversation. Try not to deflect or project any your feelings of what that person should or shouldn't have done, or what they should or shouldn't have said, or why they did what they did. Remove it, step it back, put yourself in their shoes, but from a more compassionate place. Okay. And then be able to share all of this. Let them share what they're going through, their opinions, what their reactions are, but practice active listening, understanding, validating the person's point of view and what's coming up. Asserting yourself, though, making sure to hold true to what you feel is true, and how it made you feel. Your feelings are valid, so don't think just because they didn't intend to hurt you doesn't mean that you're not allowed to feel hurt. That's okay too. But try to maintain composure, calmness, peacefulness, so that they'd know neither party jumps to the defense, because that can happen, especially once things start to get escalated. Practice empathy, and then truly, honestly work towards a solution, problem solve with that person from a more collaborative stance. How can we move forward in a way that feels good for both of us? How can we move forward in a way that both of us feel seen and heard? And that, there might be a compromise where, both parties kind of is giving some concessions, or maybe there's not. Maybe there's a collaborative approach where both people feel empowered, both people feel like it's a win-win, and you can move forward from a place of understanding and hopefully to be able to galvanize a relationship. What I believe about like healthy conflict resolution is that it can deepen a connection and relationship far more than anything else can. brushing something under the rug doesn't fix it. It's still there. The undertone is always still present. So when you are able to have an honest conversation, to be able to dig in, to be able to hold space, to be able to deal with something that's honestly could be really, really challenging for both people involved, and set a way to move forward and to actually act on that and honor that, that builds trust, that builds sustainability, that builds a relationship that can actually endure tough times. And I've been really fortunate within personally my girlfriend relationships with my friends is that we're able to handle conflict. And I really encourage us to have difficult conversations. If something doesn't feel right within me, I'm like, hey, like, I'm sure you didn't intend it this way, but blah, 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 XYZ happened. And I don't know, I can't shake it, starting off at that point. And more often than not, I have really intuitive friends. So they're like, I kind of had a feeling that was the case, but I wasn't sure. And then it's like, yeah, this is like how I felt about it. I had this story. That's what I love from Brene Brown. The story I'm making up around this is this. And more often than not, when a situation occurs, we create a story and a conversation with ourselves about why that played out the way that we did. And that's actually what we attach the emotional reaction to. It's the story, not the actual significance of the event. So when something happens, being able to uncover what the true story is in both parties, being able to like paint that picture provides an opportunity for one, there not to be any miscommunications, two, for both parties to be able to be heard, and then three, for a clear vision of what actually happened and why it happened, and also hopefully to be able to hold both parties accountable for what's going on and how you move forward. If things stay shitty and the person keeps pushing your boundaries or keeps doing stuff after that, that's a different story. But also, I have found that once we have that, to be able to set a healthy boundary going forward is really loving. To be able to say, hey, but this occurred, I didn't feel great about it, blah blah blah. We talk through it, and then it's like going forward, like if this comes up, can you like just be mindful of like how my thoughts or feelings are about it, and can you be able to respect that going forward? And more often than not, if that person cares about you, yes, yes, they will. And being able to recognize what you need within your partnerships and communicating what you need within partnerships is actually how you create a two-sided equal exchange of love, of companionship, of understanding. And that's an emotionally healthy attachment that you can build and bond with that person. And that's where I think of just the crucial nature of creating healthy bonds, practicing open communication, avoiding assumptions, focusing on the present, not dredging up stuff from the past, but really going into what's going on in that moment, in that particular circumstance. Addressing emotional hurts, being real about the feelings that were, hurt in the process, the lines that were crossed with whatever happened. You didn't feel this discomfort, you didn't feel this pain for no reason. So addressing it, being able to voice to it, to speak to it, can help you heal and also the other person too, and hopefully ensure that it doesn't happen again. And just really, utilizing those I feel statements. We all heard them back in the day when we were like in elementary school. I feel hurt when, again, addressing how you feel about the situation, not what they did. You did this, you did that, because that honestly doesn't go over well. And I think we all know that. So I felt hurt when this happened. It's not telling, like, very unbiased, very factual, very to the point. And there's no denying that. They can't tell you you don't feel that way, or that's not real. Well, your feelings are real, and that is how I perceive the situation. And I'm here to listen to you and hear you out on what occurred, or what you actually intended by that. But nonetheless, like, that fucked me up. That like really like bothered me, and I haven't let it go. And that's when we can, hopefully be able to create that line of communication that is authentic, that is true, that is genuine because you care about the person. And I think from there, setting boundaries, but being clear about why you're setting the boundary and what the boundary is. So if that's a physical boundary, if emotional boundary, time, material, whatever it is, and like just being able to like be clear about what you're setting and what area it's within, and then being able to communicate it clearly and concisely. I need to carve out some, like if someone texts you every morning and you're like, you know, this could be such a thing. Like if someone texts you each day and you're like, or each morning and you're like, I love hearing from you. But I've noticed that when I see your message, it really like triggers me because mornings are my time to really like be with myself and to set intentions and to really set myself up for the day. Are you okay with me not replying until later when I have a little bit more time and space to do so? And that person, 99% of the time, that person, if they heard that, if they care about you and they're just probably texting you because they love you, then they're probably gonna be like, oh yeah, no worries. Like, yeah, message me whenever you're free. Yeah, if they're not honoring your boundaries and if they're pushing them or they're questioning them, then that's a different conversation to have, right? But you can be respectful and kind in your delivery of setting a boundary and then enforce them. If the next time they do it and you don't reply until later and be like, hey, I saw your message earlier, but like I said, I'm not going to reply until I have the space and I just freed up, so I'm ready to chat. How's your day starting off? It can be so simple. It can be so simple. It does not have to be complicated. And I think in our minds, we choose to make it complicated because we think that there's some hidden agenda between what the person's saying and what they're doing. And more often than not, there's not. You know, more often than not, it's someone just being able to live their life. And we're always like interacting and intersecting with one another. And that's a lot. It's a hard thing to do with people that you love. And also to do so when someone's life so interwoven within each other's that it's like being able to not overextend yourself, to be able to take responsibility for how you're showing up, but also then how, you know, the taking responsibility for how you're making someone else feel. And if someone's like, hey, you know, even if you sent me a quick little response that said like, love you or thanks, then that's really all I need. And then that's where the compromise comes into play, right? Like you don't have to go into a full on conversation, but you can be like, hey, and send you a little note and then you say, thanks. Hope you're having a good one too. That can be simple, right? But again, it's a compromise, it's a conversation, and then you figure out what both parties need. When I was in my previous relationship for a really long time, I am a very social person. I've always been social. And he used to always say, I just want weekends to be a time where we can like chill and do nothing or get chores done, or like I'm really busy during the week, so it's really important for me to be able to have some time and space to be able to do some other stuff. And so we came up with, actually through therapy, we came up with a solution where I was like, so I would voice, okay, I want you to come to this event with me. And then he would say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this to you? And I would truly step back and be like, how important is this to me? And that was good. Okay, obviously I always want him to be there with me, but if he can't make it, or if he wants to just stay home and do nothing and be on his own or have alone time, that's okay too. I'm going to respect his boundary and also recognize my boundary that it's also important for me, for you to be there with me in certain social situations. So, I would scale it 1 to 10. If it was a 10, he'd be like, all right, that's cool. I'm there for you. I'm going to be there. I'm going to show up in the way that you need me to show up. If it was maybe a 2 or a 3, then he might not go. And he'd be like, hey, sounds like that's not that important. I got a bunch of stuff going on, so I'm probably not going to go. But we'll plan something else for later that night where you and I can connect and spend some time together. Boom, done. It eliminated so many fights and just like undertones of disagreements and like resentment. And it was, again, the simplicity of having the conversation, being able to work through it in a way where both parties felt seen, felt heard, right? And that's a part of like that self-care. It's about like honoring yourself and what you need, prioritizing your own needs, expressing those, and being able to seek support. And like, you know, we ended up going to therapy for a period of time to be able to work through some of those things. And it was helpful. It was useful to be able to just improve our communication styles with one another. And that's ultimately what conflict resolution boils down to, right? Like we need, like sometimes it feels scary to set a boundary. Sometimes we have guilt. I have extreme guilt about setting boundaries. I definitely childhood trauma from when I wanted to set a boundary and felt like I shouldn't, or that it was harmful to do so, and literally was told that it was harmful to do so. And so then I ignored my own needs in order to show up for others, which is extremely unhealthy. It's people pleasing behavior. And, you know, it's obviously taught down, it's passed down. But at the same time, like once I unlearned that, the patterning, that I experienced and the patterning that was consistent within my life for many years, then I recognized the power of it, and also that it was healthy, that it was okay, that I could then express my needs to someone else, that they could hear them, that they could respect them, and that they would respond in a compassionate and loving way. And since then, I really try to incorporate this into all of my interactions within, my workplace environment, having difficult conversations, especially within real estate transactions, when you got to express things that just are shitty, that aren't ideal, that things got fucked up and now we're here, but you got to keep it real. You got to be neutral. And I always just say, I'm honest. I'm going to tell you, I'm transparent. This is what happened. These are the factors that came into play. Take accountability when you have something to do with it. Especially if it was a negative thing that happened, own that shit, own it. Like I did that and like I fucked up and I'm so sorry. And this is how I want to help support you going forward. Thankfully, that didn't happen often, but still. But I would say even outside of that, in all my workplaces and now managing people, someone's repeatedly coming in late. Hey, I noticed this. I wanted to talk to you about it. This is our policy. Again, keep it neutral. This is our policy and how we handle this. And I've noticed this has come up. I'm specific. I'm giving examples. Again, neutral. And this is how I would like to move forward. But I would love to hear your thoughts on it because I want to hear, is there other circumstances I'm not aware of? Again, creating the space for the conversation to be had while still setting clear and concise boundaries, and clear and boundaries that are respectful, that are understood, that are specific, and also widely distributed and very fair. I'm not treating anyone differently from someone else. And that's where things can get a little convoluted or a little fuzzy. But the more clear you are and the more consistent you are, the easier it is to be able to communicate and execute going forward. So I talked about some professional settings. I've talked a lot about personal ones. But again, I think they really translate into all different areas, and it just depends on what's going up. And there's also things to avoid, like, reacting emotionally, going through the roof, screaming at someone. I can tell you firsthand, it's probably not going to be perceived well. Ignoring it, acting like nothing happened, probably isn't going to help the situation, and it's probably going to continue to happen, and you're probably going to build more resentment, and it's probably going to turn into a bigger issue where you end up screaming at the person and placing blame on them because they keep doing the same shit. And I've been there too. I'm like, God damn it, this person keeps doing this thing and it's driving me crazy. And now I feel like they're doing it intentionally and they want to hurt me. And they're actually being disrespectful because they're just fucking with me because they don't respect me and they don't care about me and they are like a terrible person. Oh, we've all been there. We have all been there where that spiral has occurred. And that could be in a moment, matter of seconds. It could be someone you just met off the street and they're like, they're treating me this way because XYZ. Don't act like you haven't, because you know you have. And that's what we're trying to avoid. That's what we're trying to prevent, because you want to know what that ends up turning into? Bigger fucking issues. Bigger fucking points where you are then, maybe exploding on someone that doesn't deserve it. Or you get into a deeper conflict with someone, or you break up with someone, or you stop talking to a friend and you have a falling out and you never speak again with a family member. You have a huge blowout at work and then you're getting reprimanded by the HR manager because of how you handled it disrespectfully and unprofessionally. Like, how do you prevent those things from occurring? Speaking up, saying what you need, speaking your mind, saying how you really feel in a respectful, compassionate manner that is geared towards solving a problem. And when you do that, and when you consistently do that, it gets easier. Life gets easier because what you feel and how you want to communicate, it's no longer up for debate. It's, what you need, how you want to be treated. And if it doesn't align with that, then you take actions in order to protect yourself going forward. And that's all it comes down to. Okay? And this is through years of years of therapy, the years of self-study, of work, self-work. This does not come naturally to me. So know that that's the case and that you're not alone in that. And it doesn't mean that you're going to get it all right and it's going to be perfect from the jump. It probably is not, but at least you're practicing, at least you're aware of it, and then you can apply it when it feels right for you too. And also know I'm here for support. I am a coach. I'm a mental health coach. It's literally a part of what I do. And so like having these conversations, even if it's just like a one-off, schedule a one-on-one session with me. We can talk through it and you can figure out how you want to approach it. Happy to do so. Actually, like I used to work for a helpline and crisis line where that was exactly what we supported people in doing. I am literally trained and have extensive hours like providing that type of service to someone. So know that that's a viable option and know that that's available to you if you need it. And I hope that it's beneficial to you. You know, that's truly, I want to be able to serve my community. I want to be able to improve this world. I want to create a more peaceful world for us all to live in because it all starts with us. It all starts with who we are in this moment. It starts with our own actions, and that translates into the broader scope of our culture, of our societies, of our nations, and how that also gets translated into world issues that are running rampant right now. And in a place where things are so polarized, being able to talk to someone about their political view without freaking out on them or turning your back on them and cutting them out. Can we have conversations about differing opinions in a respectful way? Is it possible? I hope so. Because we're not all going to ever agree. So, like, how do we handle these situations from a place of compassion, of a place of boundary setting, of a place of authenticity and honesty, while still being open to receive a different side that's not necessarily conducive or in alignment with what we believe? Okay? Journaling exercises for you. 1. What is a reoccurring conflict that's appearing within my life? Yeah, that part. Who is a person that's constantly pushing boundaries? Is it a type of thing that really gets your feathers flustered? You know, what is that? 2, how can I apply healthy conflict resolution to this situation? And that maybe is scheduling a time to talk to that person, writing a letter to them, or even a letter that you don't even have to read to them, but a letter for you to be able to be clear on what's coming up for you. Can you maybe apply more empathy to hear them out? Do you need to just pick your battles? Okay? There's a lot. Remove assumptions. Stay in the present. Whatever. Lots of different ways to problem solve. You know what's best for you. Trust yourself to move forward from that spot. Okay? 3rd journal question. What's one area in my life where I need to apply stronger and stricter boundaries? We all have them. We all have an area in our life that we can do this. And maybe it's with ourselves. Maybe it's applying a boundary where you're like, I need to I need to create more of a strict routine when I wake up. The boundary is I need to wake up earlier. I need to create space for me to be able to breathe and start my day from an intentional space so that I don't feel rushed. That's a boundary of self-care. And that's involves no one but yourself. Okay? 3, how can I practice expressing my needs, period, or question mark? How can I express myself? How can I express myself more clearly in my needs that need to be met? Is that writing them down? Is that being clear about what your needs are? Is that being able to set up times and conversations with people that support you and that love you and that want to be there for you? Is it being able to be aware of when you feel tainted in a moment and being able to address it as it comes up in that moment and in that second or in that conversation or in that interaction? But being clear about what you need first is really the baseline for you to be able to communicate it to others in an acute and, timely fashion. Okay. All right, y'all. And we've done. I'm so grateful. Thanks for listening. If you have any piece of feedback or anything that's really popped up for you that you felt like was helpful or beneficial for your life, or you end up having a conversation with someone that you're like, whoa, I really didn't think I was ever going to be able to do that, and here we are, please share it with me. That brings me so much joy. I love this. And know that conflict is healthy, conflict is necessary, conflict is inevitable. So what we get to choose, what we have control over, is how we respond to it, how we react, how we evolve in order to handle it in a healthier and more productive manner so that our life is more harmonious. Find the harmony. Be harmonious. You got this. You can do it. I love you. Peace.